Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Goddess Glow podcast with your host, Ray Grillo. Today, I have a special guest, and her name is Tonyah Dee. She is the owner and founder of a company called YahLight, and her movement is to ignite and empower the light within the heart. She is a registered dietitian, a master meditation coach and teacher, and also a life coach. Thank you so much, Tonyah, for being here today. And I am really just from the conversations that we had, you have so much like to give. And a lot of what I do on here is, talking about love and how it really starts with self. And I feel like you are just the embodiment of that. And like, I feel like when I look at you, I feel like, this is a woman who loves herself and you just with what you have to give and what you have to give to the world and what I've seen. Um, yeah, it's starting off in like your journey, that love. Um, I would love for you to share more about what you do. And you are a Christian woman who you take science and spirituality and you put it together. I would love for you to share your journey a little bit with my listeners.
Okay. Nice to be here, Ray, and with all of your listeners. I wanted to touch on that subject that you said about self-love and how you
Mhm.
see me being that embodiment. And I want to say in my 20s, I was not that.
Okay.
So I'm 59 now, and self-love is such a journey, and it's a real goal to have. And one of the things that happened to me when I was younger is I had an anxiety disorder when I was younger. My mother left when I was 14, and it sent me in this like, I was always running, I was starving, I was binging, then I'd use substances. I was really unaware of how badly I was treating my body. And maybe I was aware of it, but I just didn't know how to stop that anxiety from running the show. And there's been several things that have along the line that have helped me. What's funny is I became a registered dietitian because I couldn't figure out like what is going on with me. And that actually isn't what helped me the most. Which is interesting, right? That's just focusing on food and body image. And one of the things that helped me the most really was my studies in the Bible, which is so interesting. This combination of um, learning to meditate, because meditation is always recommended for someone who has anxiety or
Mhm.
depression, right?
Okay.
These real low, these things where we feel very out of control. Meditation, but it's so difficult if you don't know what you're trying to achieve during meditation and our inner parts besides our body, because that's what happens when we meditate is we go inward and all of a sudden we're faced with ourself, right? And at the time, myself was like, I can't sit. I gotta go. I gotta get things done. I need to solve problems. There's a problem here. I need to solve it. So the journey to self love is really it's a journey of going inside, right?
Yes.
Which is was funny. Like we do a lot of these self help things, and
Mhm.
we might look a certain way or try to change our image on the outside, and um, try to say certain things to ourselves, like "I love you," like in the mirror, like affirmations. But where our self, the self, is located is in our soul.
Mm.
So might be hopping a little bit too far, but basically, self-love is this acknowledgement that we don't want to abandon ourselves. We don't want to put substances in that's going to numb ourselves. We don't want to, of course, we all don't want to do any of this, right? But there's
Mm-hmm.
this impulse to do it.
Like an instant sort of gratification, like the easier
Yeah,
route. Yeah.
it's instant, it's
Mhm.
impulsive, and this all comes from our soul, which is driving who we are on the inside. So part of self-love for me was becoming still.
Mm.
Like, okay, you just got to bear with these uncomfortable feelings and learn to go inside. I told you I'm a registered dietitian, and I'd be counseling people, a lot of women who had eating disorders, because that's kind of what I had. And I realized I could talk to them all day about their body and food, and they weren't going to recover. I had to go deeper. And in the Bible, it says that we are body, we are soul, and we are spirit. There's three parts to us. And if we're just going to focus on this one part, it's the least powerful part that we have access to. So our
Mm-hmm.
body's going to constantly change. It's never going to be perfect. And then, it just changes. So you can't control it. Um, you have to go deeper and really start befriending yourself instead of avoiding yourself. So all those techniques I just described, like over exercising, starving, binging, whether it's bulimia or substances, this is really not being very friendly to yourself. And what you'll notice if you're really sitting in meditation every day is, say you do that impulsively the day before. You get triggered somehow and you drink, or you get triggered and you just do something where it's simple. You go shopping, even something. And the next day you could sit with yourself and somehow you don't feel that good. You
Yeah.
might not feel that good. And then you'll have to ask yourself, what did I do to make myself not feel good? And this becomes the journey to self-love, is we don't want to make ourselves feel bad ever. There's enough people in our lives that will disappoint us, that might emotionally try to abuse us, or there's a lot of people out there that we have to be wary of. And the one thing we don't really want to do, if we can avoid it, is hurt ourselves or disappoint ourselves. So this journey into self-love it's a very interesting journey, because if we can realize that God is a spirit and God lives in our heart. That's what the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
God's in our heart, in our soul, and our soul's in our heart too. So basically, our soul and our spirit are inside our heart. And the heart is a spiritual center. Like you have your chakra thing back there. You know
Yeah.
how like this chakra is the heart energy center. So within that heart center, that's where our soul and our spirit are both. And our
Mm-hmm.
spirit is connected, our human spirit is connected to God, and God is a spirit. And it's all happening in our heart.
Okay.
So you
I
get,
was Oh,
mhm.
I did have like a thought come up or a question because I work a lot with like psychology wise, like the subconscious mind, the unconscious, or yeah, the conscious, and like using that sort of thing and like diving into the past to or like, doing hypnotherapy or NLP or something along those lines, inner child healing, in order to heal. And that's typically the route that I go. And so is there like a correlation between like maybe the unconscious mind with the soul and this might be this might be like going like far out there, however, like the soul and the spirit.
No, it's really, really interesting because over the years, these parts of us have been named many things.
Yeah,
And
okay.
right, and in psychology, psyche, the same word psyche is the same word as self, which is the same word biblically as soul. So
Hmm.
psychology is the study of the psyche, or I believe the study of the soul.
Okay, like my mind's like right now.
Right, right. So basically, psychology calls the subconscious the part of us that's not entirely conscious. There's parts of it that's asleep,
Hmm.
right? Or stored. And that's the same as our soul. So when we're born with this soul. And from the moment we're born, the soul stores every single thing we learn, every single thing we experience. So it's like a big computer hard drive. Our soul is storing everything. So you talk about inner child work.
Hmm.
That inner child experience is in our soul as a child, our teenage years in our soul. Whatever happened to us, whatever we learned, and whatever we heard, like whatever someone told us, you
Hmm.
could have been told you're fat, you're ugly, you're lazy. All of the messages and all of our experiences are stored in our soul. So the psychology calls it the subconscious, below conscious,
Okay.
below conscious. So all of that stuff in our soul, some of it's accessible to us, memory, right?
Hmm.
And some of it's not accessible to us. And in biblically, it would be the soul is subconscious, the spirit is conscious, consciousness. Some
Mm,
people
okay.
even refer to God as consciousness.
Yeah.
So it's such a good question because it's fairly confusing, all the different names
Hmm.
soul has been given. Um, so that was a great question. Do you understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do understand. And that in terms for me, because I know I was a little bit confused beforehand about the difference between, and I would love for you to share this too, because we had a conversation before, like weeks ago, on the difference between the body, which you shared a little bit now, the body, the soul, and the spirit, and how each part, it's like what you would call the Trinity.
You
Is
would
that
call it the Trinity.
okay?
There's three parts to
Mhm.
us, right? And then they say that God is also exists in three parts, which would be
Mhm.
Jesus came to be the invisible manifestation of God in physical form and human form. And then there's the Holy Spirit, and this is God's spirit, and that's what lives in our heart. And then there's God, this like big thing that we can't understand. So
Yeah.
God parts, but it also says that we are created in God's image. So we're three parts. So we're body, and we all kind of know our body, but the body basically has six senses,
Okay.
right? Like the smell, touch, hearing, taste, and that sixth sense, like intuition. And then it has 12 systems. So it has the circulatory system, the respiratory system, the lymphatic system. So our body is a sensory system.
Hmm.
It's picking things up like information and relaying it, guess where? To our soul. and our spirit. So our body, like it says, our body is the temple of our soul and our spirit.
Yeah.
So what's the body? It's just physical. It's the only thing we can see. We can't actually see our soul or our spirit. The body's material, like the desk.
Mm-hmm.
Soul and the spirit are immaterial. We can't see it. It's the unseen. But the real interesting thing is the soul, it includes three parts. So the soul includes our mind. Imagine your thoughts. So you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
That's one part of your soul. And another part is your emotions. You're feeling too as you sit there. Somehow you're feeling excited or anxious or sad or happy or whatever you're feeling. And the third part of the soul is called our will or our free will. The free will meaning we can make our own choices. We're given that free will to make our choices. God doesn't make our choices for us. So your free will is, I like to consider it like desires. You might be sitting there going like, well, I wish I would have had some water. I wish I hope, all this. So the will sounds like I will, I won't, I want, I don't want, I wish.
Okay.
When we talk about self-love, I'm going to go back to that.
Okay.
It's so important to know these three parts of ourselves because we have to learn how to love our mind, love our emotions, and love our desires. And here's the trickiest part. As I told you, everything's stored in our soul from the time we're born.
Mm-hmm.
That means you might have a thought that's really, it's not true. Like after my mom left, I had this thought that I was unlovable and that I wasn't worthy and I couldn't trust people and people would betray me. So I went into my 20s with these thoughts in my head just because those thoughts occurred at the time and were stored in me. Those thoughts became like this perspective that I saw out of. And it kept me from so much. So part of, and same with the feelings, like the feeling of anxiety came from my mom leaving. And then my dad, was distracted and our whole family fell apart. So, and then my desires, like, oh my gosh, I'm on my own. I have to, get a degree. I have to make, I had nobody there for me. So basically, when you're sitting around, and this is where meditation's really important, is you're sitting in your body, you're holding your body still. You learn how to have self-control, right? So you don't have that impulse. Then you observe your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, and your desires. We're just observing. We're not reacting to it. And here's the last part of our body, soul, spirit. Spirit's that higher consciousness. It says in the Bible, the spirit is the lamp. It shines on our inner parts, our soul, our mind, emotions, and our will. So when we're observing, we're beginning to be able to come from a place of spirit. And really, the spirit's a lot more powerful. This is where the higher power is located. And the soul's not very powerful at all. But the soul is, we are here to experience life. And our soul is to kind of tell us how we're experiencing life. You'll hear these thoughts, you'll hear these feelings, like today I feel sad. Why? Because I'm experiencing a loss. So your soul is speaking to us. And it's so often we'll feel sad and we'll try to get rid of that feeling without first saying, why? And how can I love this part of myself today?
Yeah.
And we can, the spirit really helps us. It can tell us a bigger perspective, like, hey, I remember once I started meditating, I started hearing a completely different voice. Like, hey, those things aren't true. Those thoughts in your mind, right? You
Mm-hmm.
start hearing this kind of, it's a little bit of a battle between the spirit and the soul for a while until the soul just really surrenders over to spirit, because our soul wants more power. And when we give it that higher power, spirit, it kind of calms down. So we don't have so much thought, so many thoughts, we don't have so many
Mhm.
feelings, we don't have so much, desires. So
Yeah. I
those
was
are the moving
oh,
parts. Yeah.
I was battling recently with like my like anxiety and like things going on, like this hecticness. And I know like for other people too. However, for me, like I was experiencing like I know I should meditate. I know I should go sit down and be still. And like what I was wishing and wanting was to feel still. And I just was like, my mind's here, my mind's there, like all over the place, and then like it's like your answers, and people know their own answers. And I just was so hesitant or so resistant on not doing it. And once
Mm,
I was invited to do some breath work on Sunday. And so once I did that, like I feel like this whole like this light, like this like flush or this like rush or river of light just like came down upon me. And I don't know if you believe like in spirit guides or that, however, my spirit guides are like, focus. Each time like my mind would wander, like the negative thoughts that I was having, observing the negative thoughts that I was having, like focus, you know. So I guess like my question would be, for me, like I sort of get why I was like resistant to doing it. It could be like a belief about, myself. Um, However, like why typically would people they know the answer? And I've heard a lot of people like, oh, like I need to do this more, like I need to go work out more, or I need to go and meditate more. Like, what is the resistance to that?
that is such a good question, because I think the hardest part about meditation is the resistance to do it.
Yeah. This is actually sitting down and doing it.
And just knowing that, like, so I've been meditating for 15 years, but I'll tell you, I get up in the morning, I do it first thing in the morning. Between the time I grab my tea and coffee and the time I make it to my spot, I might come up with 10 reasons not to get there. And this is still every day. But I know once I get there, things will be cool, things will be better. So the resistance, I believe this is the resistance. So our soul's very strong. And it has to be, because our soul is there for us to survive. It's a survival mechanism. So when you see people who say, I'm in survival mode, they really, their soul's very active, unfortunately, because they haven't learned how to surrender the soul to God's spirit. And God's spirit is where wisdom is found. So it's not found in our soul. So the resistance that comes up is your soul wants to, if you have a problem and your soul thinks, this is one reason we need to not tell ourselves about this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. Your soul's like, great, I'm going to solve that problem, because that's what our mind is meant to solve problems. Think about our mind. It judges, analyzes, plans, perceives. Everything about it is solving a problem. So as soon as we say we have a problem, the mind's in gear. I'm going to solve that problem. So one of the things we can do is, I notice my mind is like this. I notice my emotions are like this. I notice my actions are like this. So the goal is to be still and know God. That's it. It is extremely simple and extremely hard, because your soul is like, I've got the answer. Go do this. Go do that. I'm feeling this. So numb it with that. So
Mhm.
your soul thinks it has all the answers. And it has to work with God's spirit. So be still and know God. It doesn't mean you have to sit in meditation pose. You
Yeah.
can take a nap and just get horizontal. You can go down to a park and sit under a tree. You can, like, and nature's a really good way to do it. And if you can't sit still, even taking a slow walk in nature, not with podcasts and headphones and everything, just I'm going to spend some time with spirit,
Yeah.
listening deeper. And then often you get that still small voice, and that's the one we often hear
Hmm.
but are the voice of our soul. But do this, do this, do this. It might be a little bit louder until you really start. Every time you hear that still small voice, write it down, write
Hmm.
it down. And it's got some answer for you.
So and with that, how this was an issue, and I know it can be an issue between listening, what voice to listen to. And I know you're talking about will in the soul and like the desires, like I want, I won't, I can't, or um how can people decipher between what is spirit and what is soul?
So another such a great question. um, so things from the spirit, all the things from the spirit are good, righteous, holy, trustworthy, beautiful, um, creating unity, a good for everybody. So the spirit has this bigger perspective, like way big, and you might even hear the spirit sort of challenging, like it'll say, "I want you to stop drinking." And your will be like, "Hell no, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Heck no, I'm not going to stop drinking. That's helping my anxiety. And the next morning you might hear like, I really want you to stop drinking. Spirit's very gentle. It's gentle and it knows what's best for you. And you will hear it over and over and over until you do the thing it's trying to get you to do.
Hmm.
And I had this really interesting, this is the scenario. That's what one thing that was real hard for me. Like I hear God's voice, like, nope, your sobriety is your path, that's it.
Yeah.
I would sit in meditation and listen to my will. I'd try to answer these questions. I will, I won't, I want, I don't want. And I'd say, I will try to stop drinking. I won't. I won't stop drinking. Um, I don't want. Well, I really don't want how I feel after drinking.
Hmm.
Um, and I want. Well, I want to be able to do anything I want to be able to do. That was my voice. That was my soul, and I had all of these reasons not to do it until I did it over, heard it again, explored what I'm thinking. Well, the bottom line was I want to do what I want to do. I want to be able to do what I want to do. And God's like, you know what? You're not loving yourself. Let me lead you. You're what
Yeah.
you're wanting to do is really not self-love. Let me
Hmm.
lead you for a while. And it was this, I get it finally. And then when I did it, I felt so much better. And
Yeah.
all of these blessings also came to me. So this is a really interesting practice. Like God told me once, I want you to make chant music in English based out of the Bible. And I heard this for like 6 months, and I was like, I'm a dietitian.
Yeah.
I'm not a musician. I'm not a theologian. I know about the Bible, but I'm not like, and I kept saying, is this, I keep heard over. And I finally said, okay, I'll do it. Well, guess what? It was a miracle. basically be woken up by songs in the morning, the tune, the song, and I would write them down in my meditations, and they came pouring out of me. Very simple chant songs with a melody. And right after that, I met a musician. I met a guy with a recording studio. So this is called God's grace. When God gives us a challenge, a still small voice, and we have the courage to say, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try. He wants you to do it. It was his idea. And he'll come in with grace, which is this synchronistic thing that starts happening all throughout your life, everywhere, every realm. And that's how we begin to have this like really like, wow, God's real. I really have faith in God now. And
Yeah.
it makes me 100% devoted to hearing that, hearing that voice, trying to follow it. So
I know a lot of people too, and even like, I mean, everyone goes through it. However, the signs and something that I share with, the people in my life and with my listeners and stuff is really getting in tune. Like one, it's like I like followed Tony Robbins for a while. And the thing that he said was like getting in tune with your body, like first, because if your body feels good, then you're going to want to be in it more. It's okay, like you're gonna be able to sit still. And then like going into like when you start doing like the meditation and stuff, like you're gonna start like listening in and like tuning in. And like I believe in angel numbers, and I see numbers everywhere, and I see, spirit is always talking, always talking, always guiding. And there's just like, I don't know, like Barcelona came up for me a lot, or Spain came up for me a lot, like little things that you're able to pick up on like along like your day, just like simple things like, or like I'll have a thought of something or a thought of someone, like they reach out or thought of something and it'll come up in a conversation later. And I feel like intuition, everyone's different too, just like you'll be able to pick it up, and like it's like I don't know how to describe the feeling other than like maybe enlightened or something, like
I
yeah.
like the word, I
um,
like the word enlightened a lot, because the
mhm.
way I look as enlightened is they say that Christ is a light
Yeah.
within our heart. He said, I came to enlighten every man. It's a Bible verse, and his light is in our heart. So this light is like unconditional love. It's new life, and it has a lot of qualities to it. So like you said, this thing's it's mysterious. Okay, it just
Yeah.
is.
It's
But it's
magical.
always,
Yeah.
it's magical. It's kind of speaking to us in the way we're going to perceive all the time. Like numbers, a lot of people say they see numbers or they hear things, or I totally believe in angels. Like, why
Mhm.
wouldn't I? It's there you can, and if you pray, that's another part of this whole aspect, is listening to ourselves. Like Tony Robbins says, listen to your body. Well, your body, inside your body is your soul. And if there's pain coming from your body speaks.
Yeah.
We never want to avoid what our body's telling us. So that's self-love, right? I have a pain here. If you're sitting in meditation and you can't do the crisscross applesauce, sit in a chair. So what?
Yeah.
Right? About being still and going inside and listening to your body, not
Mhm.
neglecting your body. But yeah,
There
I
was
have
okay, well there was also another thought that came to me when you're talking about like your chanting and the music and like listening in, like you kept getting these like gentle reminders. I'm at the spot right now in my life where I keep hearing like, okay, YouTube videos, because I traveled the world last year and I took so much footage and I haven't done anything with it, and writing, so writing and the footage and doing the inspirational videos on YouTube. Like that's like capture the world the way I see the beauty in it, And However, it's like this voice is like, tuning in because everyone's so stuck on like, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
What is my purpose?
Right.
And I feel like you gave a great example of sometimes your purpose is just like, just doing what you came here to do. And like, you're like, I'm a dietitian, like music. Like, did you have any music? No musical background whatsoever. Okay. Because you're a science person as well. Yeah.
Mhm. That's major. Well, so that idea of what is your purpose, like that's they say God places that in our heart.
Hmm.
So, and your purpose now might be different, like from your purpose in 2 or 3 years. But listening to that voice, it says that God is a guide, a
Hmm.
counselor, a helper, and the spirit of truth. And so, like, I'm going to take your YouTube thing for an example. Like, so
Yeah.
you've heard it a while, and this is something I would say, like, okay, this is your purpose right now. And you need to move towards it in whatever way you can. Like, I would just encourage you to start making simple videos because you just populate your YouTube channel. Don't get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
And then it might turn into the travel thing and the travel journal thing. But your followers would love to just see you on YouTube for, however, 10 minutes, there's my another
Yeah.
YouTube. So I do think like one of the things I say about it, it's a meditation and prayer practice. So
Hmm.
in meditation, you're really listening for that voice, your voice, God's voice. And in prayer is where we really consciously talk to God, talk to spirit, because our words are creative.
Hmm.
So, and it's all about that in the Bible. Every religion talks about the power of the word.
Yes.
Our words are so powerful. So, like my prayer practice every day, as I start out with thanking God. And what Jesus said is, thank God for stuff you don't even have. So,
Yes.
if you don't have perfect health, you say, thank you for my perfect health. Thank you for helping me with my YouTube videos. Thank you for my anointing. I always say that because I feel that this anointing, this meditation prayer practice that I teach, that just came right from above. That was an
Hmm.
anointing on me to do this thing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And then another part of praying to God is we admit where we're struggling.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. I have anxiety. I'm struggling. I'm drinking too much. I'm struggling. God doesn't know exactly how to help you unless you tell him.
Yeah.
He'll know your story better, and he can help you right away. I'm struggling with feeling weary or overly burdened. Please, can you give me some more strength? Can you give me more clarity? Can you give me more direction? And boom,
Yeah.
doesn't happen right away because God sometimes will speak to you to where you're answering your own prayer,
Hmm.
or will lead you in a way where your prayer is answered, or he'll give you the answer. So the answering of prayers comes in different ways. But I do think prayer is just as important as meditation.
Yeah. And so I recently joined the LDS church, and their thing a lot is like repenting. However, I've done a lot of personal development work as well. And a lot of what I've found is like the personal development work that I've done, like that's like, which I feel is practical spirituality. That's essentially what it is that acknowledgement. I used to always feel like I had to hide away my problems in the past. Like I really stayed away from Christianity or just being in a church. Even though I was raised in a church, I still believed in the Bible. I just didn't want to be around people because I was so afraid of like the judgment or whatever it was because I wanted to hide away my problems. And I found within myself that those problems, like once I became aware of them or honest and just acknowledged that I had them, they either a solution popped out of nowhere, or and again, I can share my experience. And the people that I talk to, a lot of the issue is just coming to an acknowledgement that, hey, there is a problem here. And then yeah, from there it's just, yeah, you get insights, and everything that you're sharing is just so I'm like the years of study, whatever, like everything that you're saying, I'm like, if we just followed what you said, like our lives, honestly, it would be easier. And talking about that resistance, and I think we're talking about how it could just be easy, you
Right,
know
right. So life, I don't find life ever to be actually all that easy,
hmm
but it's definitely so much easier when you have this co-creator,
yeah.
this helper helping you, and there's synchronicity. It's grace is like it's ease. There's an ease to life.
hmm
So will always have challenges. I changed the word from problems to challenges.
Okay.
And God's there to help us overcome these challenges so that we can help other people that had those challenges. Or, it's God's trying to take us from glory to glory, which basically is true. Like we're at this point, and then we have this challenge, and we're like a little bit better, right? And then a little bit better, a little bit
Mhm.
better. So there's definitely these practices, like I like how you just called it practical spirituality, but let's just take this confession thing that you just brought up, how
Mhm.
important it is almost in every healing modality. There will come this time where you have to sort of fess up your truth,
Yeah.
whether it's in the 12 steps, it's like the fifth step. We admitted to our brothers where our faults were. And a lot of people in 12 steps, they get to that fifth step, and that's where they fall apart.
Mhm.
But this is the goal, is them. And science has shown this is true. So I love this, that, it's not just spirituality, it's
Yeah.
science shows that our emotions are stored in our body. And when we just reveal it, like you said, we pay attention to it, like this is a truth. I felt this way. This is inner child work. This is how I felt when I was 4. And
Mhm.
you are able to sit and sort of have some compassion for that 4-year-old for a while, like, wow, you felt that way. And all of a sudden it's like the feeling lifts and it's gone. That's the path to enlightenment. That's Jesus, is from darkness to light. We go inside of ourselves and we identify that stuff that's in the dark that we
Yeah.
hold down there, and we bring it to light, and it's set free. So, you do have to be sort of careful who you're doing it in front of, because there are people who want to avoid their feelings because it's too painful at the moment for them. So, doing it to God is the easiest thing you can do, because you're not going to be judged. He has unconditional love. He forgives you. You're
Yeah.
forgiven. So you can do this practice every day. I admit this. I do it. I admit I'm doing this. I'm struggling here now. I'm struggling with this thought. I'm struggling with this behavior. And it's so freeing.
Yeah, it really is freeing. And I realized that it's not, it wasn't for other people. It's for me.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I could talk to you forever,
Yeah.
Tanya. I could talk to you forever, I feel like. However, I would love, you said that you have a book coming out. And then I have my little guy over here. However, you said you have a book coming out, and I would love for you to share what the book is. And yeah, and you said also that there's an event that you'll be attending in
Yes.
North Carolina. Yeah.
So my book is called How to Meditate with Jesus, and it's an 8-step process that takes us really into our body, then our soul, then our spirit. And I do use chanting, meditation, and prayer. And it's a pretty small book, actually. It's only like 75 pages. It's really a workbook, and it's a
Mhm.
doodle book too, and it has a journal in it too. It's really to get you to start doing the practice like every day. And then the whole last part of it is a 40-day challenge, doing the
Okay.
practice and prompts in the journal. So
And I know
if
in the
you
Bible, 40 days is pinnacle. Yeah, it's
it's
like, yeah.
it changes things. 30 days to change a habit, 40 days to really like becoming grounded in that habit. So in
Mhm.
the new habit, if anyone is interested in what I do, I have a newsletter on my website that I give out free meditations and free chants, and I'll give a notice when my book is ready. And that would be a beautiful thing. Could follow me on Instagram at Tonyah
Mhm.
Dee, or I have a YouTube page too,
Yeah,
Tonyah
and you
Dee.
have quite a bit on there.
Right. And I just started small. It was like
Yeah.
one little video.
Mhm.
You just start. You
Yeah.
just, so at YahLight.com.
hmm And
YahLight.com.
yeah, and everything will be down below in the description. And yeah, go check out Tonyah, go check out her website and YouTube channel. You have some meditations on there. I've noticed, and they're not like the videos weren't long. I saw some that were like 5 minutes.
I like
So
to try to make everything 5 minutes. So my
yeah.
chants are all 5 minutes. So if you feel like chanting for 5 minutes, you can chant for five. If you do 2 or 3 songs, that's 15 or 20 minutes.
hmm
Um, most of my meditations are 5 minutes long, and my prayers 5 minutes. So, you want to make it at the beginning. I could only sit for like 3 minutes. So I
hmm
understand, like at the beginning, it's kind of difficult. You fight that resistance.
Yeah.
The more you fight it, the easier it becomes, the longer you actually want to sit there. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for, coming on and talking to me and sharing like all of your knowledge. I'm definitely going to be subscribing to that book and getting the book and getting on the newsletter because I just love what you have to share. And I love your
thank
energy. So, is there anything else that you would like to share with listeners before we get off? Or
I would just like to share, I'm really appreciative to Ray. I think she has a lot of insight for her age and a lot of courage to do what she's doing. And, we all need to be like you are and like I am, like just get out there in the world
yeah.
and try to share what we can and support people that become part of our tribe. And so I
Mhm.
just want to give you a little pat on the back because I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.